I lost my family long before my illness took my strength, and it happened because I was too afraid to let them see me weak. What would you do if the secret you kept to protect the people you loved was the very thing that pushed them away? My name is Elias Thorne. I'm in the later years of my life, and for a long time, fear ruled me more than any disease ever could. I was a man forged in steel and self-reliance, someone who built an empire from nothing, someone who believed, foolishly, that love could be preserved through silence. The tremor started subtly, a barely perceptible wobble in my right hand as I poured my morning coffee. I dismissed it, as I had dismissed so many other small betrayals of my body over the years. A trick of the light, a momentary fatigue, nothing more. My children, Amelia and David, were grown and successful in their own lives, and I believe they loved me deeply. But love, I would soon learn, can weaken when truth is kept outside the door. This story isn't about the illness itself. It's about the suffocating silence I wrapped around it, a silence I thought would protect my family, but slowly pulled us apart. What secret, I wonder, could be so powerful, so destructive, that it could unravel decades of shared history, turning affection into resentment and understanding into a chasm of misunderstanding? The answer, I learned too late, lay not in the disease, but in the choice I made to hide it. My life had always been a meticulously organized affair. From the perfectly starched shirts in my closet to the quarterly reports on my desk. Control was my currency, my comfort. After my wife, Sarah, passed away unexpectedly a decade prior, that need for control intensified. She had been the emotional anchor, the one who navigated the turbulent waters of our family life with grace and intuition. Without her, I became the sole architect of our emotional landscape, a role I was ill-equipped to handle. Amelia, my eldest, inherited her mother's sharp mind and a quiet intensity. She was a lawyer, precise and analytical, always seeking clarity, even when it hurt. David, my son, was a more free spirit, an artist whose emotions ran closer to the surface. He often chafed under my pragmatic exterior, longing for a connection I rarely offered. Their childhoods, while materially comfortable, were often characterized by my emotional distance, a byproduct of my relentless pursuit of success. I believed I was providing for them, protecting them, and that was enough. Love, I thought, was demonstrated through provision, not through vulnerable confessions. This belief, deeply ingrained, will become the very foundation of my undoing. The tremors grew more insistent, migrating from my hand to a slight stiffness in my gait, a subtle drag in my right foot. I began to notice these things, not in the mirror, but in the fleeting glances of others. A concerned look from my housekeeper, Maria, a slight hesitation in a colleague's voice. Still, I resisted the truth. Denial, I realized, is a powerful anesthetic. It numbs the fear, postpones the inevitable, but it also isolates. I started making excuses for my increasing clumsiness, blaming old sports injuries, the stress of work, anything but the encroaching reality. The first doctor I saw confirmed my deepest fears. Parkinson's disease. The words hung in the air, heavy and final, like a death sentence. He spoke of dopamine neurons, progressive degeneration. I heard only one word, weakness. And weakness in my world was anathema. I imagined Amelia's analytical gaze, dissecting my decline, and David's artistic sensitivity, recoiling from the physical manifestations of my illness. I couldn't bear it. I couldn't bear for them to see me, Elias Thorne, reduced to a trembling, dependent shell. It was then, in that sterile doctor's office, that the seed of my secret was planted. I would hide it. I would fight it alone. I would protect my children from the burden of my decline. The early stages of the disease were manageable, a dance of subtle adjustments. I learned to hold my coffee cup with both hands, to walk with deliberate, almost military precision. I started canceling social engagements, preferring the solitude of my study to the potential scrutiny of others. Amelia and David, busy with their own lives, noticed my increasing reclusiveness, but attributed it to my age, my grief for Sarah, or simply my inherent stoicism. They would call, and I would offer clipped, reassuring answers, painting a picture of a robust, independent father. "Everything is fine, dear. I'd say, my voice steady, betraying none of the internal tremors that now shook my very core. Just busy with a new project. The lies, small at first, began to multiply, intertwining into a complex narrative of well-being that I meticulously maintained. Each lie was a brick in the wall I was building around myself, a wall designed to keep my secret safe, but also to keep my children out. As the disease progressed, the physical manifestations became harder to conceal. The tremors became more pronounced, my movements slower, more rigid. I found myself struggling with simple tasks, buttoning a shirt, tying my shoelaces. The frustration was a constant, simmering rage beneath my carefully composed exterior. I began to avoid meals with Amelia and David, inventing elaborate excuses about late meetings or sudden travel. I knew they were starting to suspect something. Amelia, with her lawyer's mind, would ask probing questions, her eyes searching mine for inconsistencies. David, with his artist intuition, would simply watch me, a flicker of concern in his gaze that I couldn't quite decipher. I would deflect, charm, even occasionally snap, anything to keep them from discovering the truth. The fear of their pity, their sorrow, their potential revulsion, was a powerful motivator. I believed I was preserving their image of me, the strong, unyielding patriarch. But in reality, I was eroding the very foundation of our trust. One evening, Amelia called, her voice tight with concern. "Dad, Maria called me. She said you've been falling. Is everything all right?" Maria, my housekeeper, had been with our family for decades, a quiet, observant woman who had seen me through countless trials. Her loyalty was unwavering, but her concern for my well-being had, it seemed, overridden her discretion. A cold knot formed in my stomach. The wall was crumbling. I tried to dismiss her worries, to minimize the incident. Just a little stumble. "Amelia, nothing to worry about. Maria is overly dramatic." But even as I spoke the words, I knew they sounded hollow. Amelia was not easily fooled. "Dad," she pressed, her voice softening, "please tell me what's going on. We're worried about you." The "we" stung. It meant David was involved, that they were discussing me, dissecting my behavior, perhaps even speculating about my decline. I felt a surge of anger, a desperate need to reassert control. "There's nothing to tell, Amelia. I'm fine. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have work to do." I hung up, the receiver trembling in my hand, my heart pounding with a mixture of fear and defiance. The next few months were a blur of increasing physical difficulty and escalating emotional tension. I became a master camouflage, learning to use furniture for support, to hide my trembling hands in my pockets, to speak with forced clarity that belied the growing difficulty in articulation. But the effort was exhausting, a constant performance that drained my energy and eroded my spirit. My relationship with Amelia and David became strained, characterized by an unspoken tension. They would visit, their concern palpable, their questions unspoken but visible in their eyes. I would meet their gaze with a mask of forced cheerfulness, a performance I hoped would convince them that all was well. But the silence, the space between our words, grew wider and wider, filled with the weight of my secret. I saw the hurt in Amelia's eyes, the frustration in David's. They felt shut out, rejected, and I, in my misguided attempt to protect them, was the one doing the shutting out. Then came the fall that I couldn't hide, not even from myself. I was alone in my study, reaching for a book on a high shelf, when my balance gave way. I fell hard, my head striking the edge of my desk, and for a moment, the world dissolved into a blinding white pain. When I came to, Maria was kneeling beside me, her face a mass of terror. My head throbbed, and a sticky warm spread across my temple. This time, I couldn't dismiss it. Maria, her voice trembling, insisted on calling Amelia. I resisted weakly, my resolve shattered by the pain and the sheer exhaustion of maintaining the charade. When Amelia arrived, her face was ashen. The sight of me, bruised and disoriented, was undeniable proof of my decline. David arrived shortly after, his usual artistic detachment replaced by a raw, visible fear. The carefully constructed wall I had built around myself, brick by painstaking brick, finally crumbled. The hospital room was stark, white, and unforgiving. Amelia sat by my bedside, her lawyer's notebook open, a pen poised. David stood by the window, his back to me, the silence in the room punctuated only by the rhythmic beeping of the machines. The doctor, a kind-faced woman who spoke with gentle authority, explained progression of my Parkinsons. She spoke of the years I had likely been living with it, the advanced stage it had reached due to lack of consistent treatment. My children listened, their faces a mixture of shock, confusion, and a burgeoning anger. When the doctor left, the silence that followed was deafening, heavy with unspoken accusations. "Why, Dad?" Amelia finally whispered, her voice barely audible. "Why didn't you tell us?" David turned from the window, his eyes blazing. "Did you think we wouldn't care? Did you think we wouldn't want to help you?" Their words were daggers, each one piercing the fragile shield I had built around my heart. The truth, when it finally spilled out, was a torrent of shame, fear, and misguided love. I confessed my terror of appearing weak, my desire to protect them from the burden of my illness, my belief that they would somehow love me less if they saw me diminished. I spoke of Sarah, and how her strength had always sustained me, and how, without her, I felt utterly alone in facing this challenge. Amelia listened, her face softening with each word, a tear tracing a path down her cheek. David, however, remained rigid, his anger still a palpable force in the room. "You didn't protect us, Dad," he said, his voice laced with bitterness. "You shut us out. You made us feel like we weren't important enough to share your pain with. That's not protection. That's abandonment." His words, raw and unfiltered, struck me with the force of physical blow. He was right. In my attempt to shield him from my weakness, I had inadvertently inflicted a deeper wound. The wound of emotional abandonment. The days that followed were a painful process of tentative reconciliation. Amelia, ever the pragmatist, initiated conversations, asking questions about my treatment, my prognosis, my wishes. She researched, consulted with specialists, and began to organize my care. Her actions, though rooted in her logical nature, were also an expression of her love, a practical manifestation of her desire to help. David, however, remained distant. He visited, but his conversations were brief, his gaze averted. The emotional chasm between us felt insurmountable. I understood his anger. I had, in my own way, betrayed him, rejected his capacity for empathy and love. I had treated him not as a son, but as someone who needed to be shielded from the messy realities of life, a reality he, as an artist, was uniquely equipped to understand and process. The weight of his disappointment was almost unbearable. I had hidden my illness, not to hurt them, but out of a desperate, clumsy attempt at love. Yet, the outcome was the same, a fractured family, a father and his children adrift in a sea of unspoken resentment. One afternoon, as I sat in my wheelchair in the hospital garden, David approached me. He carried a sketchbook, its pages filled with charcoal drawings of trees, sunlight, and the subtle interplay of light and shadow. He sat beside me, flipping through the pages, not speaking, just sharing his art. I watched him, my heart aching with a mixture of pride and regret. Finally, he stopped on a blank page. He picked up a charcoal pencil and, with a few deft strokes, began to sketch my profile. He captured the lines of worry around my eyes, the slight tremor in my hand, but also, surprisingly, a strength I no longer felt I possessed. As he worked, he spoke, his voice low and steady. "Mom always said you had a good heart, Dad, even when you were being difficult." He paused, his eyes still fixed on the drawing. "She said you just didn't know how to show it sometimes." A single tear escaped my eye, tracing a warm path down my cheek. He was speaking of Sarah, of a shared understanding I had long forgotten. He finished the sketch, then tore the page from his book and handed it to me. "This is you, Dad," he said, his voice softer now. "Not just the illness, but everything, the strength, the fear, the stubbornness, and the love, underneath it all." He looked at me then, truly looked at me, and in his eyes, I saw not just anger, but profound sadness, and something else, something akin to understanding. "It hurt, Dad," he continued, his voice thick with emotion. "It really hurt that you didn't trust us, that you thought we couldn't handle it. But," he paused, taking a deep breath, "I'm here now. We're here, and we're not going anywhere." His words were a lifeline, an unexpected balm to my wounded spirit. In that moment, the years of silence, the carefully constructed facade, the fear of vulnerability, all began to melt away. He wasn't just offering forgiveness. He was offering a path back, a chance to rebuild. The journey of healing was long and arduous. It involved countless conversations, many of them difficult, filled with raw emotions and painful recollections. Amelia, with her unwavering pursuit of truth, helped us dissect the past, to understand the motivations behind my actions, and to acknowledge the hurt I had caused. She became my advocate, my planner, my rock. David, with his artistic sensitivity, helped us to express the unexpressible, to find beauty even in the brokenness. He began to draw me more often, capturing the subtle shifts of my expressions, the moment of vulnerability, the quiet strength that still flickered within me. Through their unwavering presence, I began to learn the true meaning of connection, of shared burdens, of love that transcends physical limitations. I learned that true strength lies not in hiding vulnerability, but in embracing it, in allowing others to witness our imperfections and still choose to stand by our side. My Parkinson's continued its relentless progression, but I was no longer alone. My children became my caregivers, my confidants, my friends. We laughed, we cried, we argued, but we did it together. We visited Sarah's grave, and I spoke aloud, for the first time, of my regrets, of the mistakes I had made, and of the profound lesson I was finally learning. Amelia and David stood beside me, their hands on my shoulders, a silent testament to our newfound unity. The secret that had almost destroyed my family had, ironically, become the catalyst for its rebirth. It was a painful rebirth, certainly, but one that was ultimately more authentic, more deeply rooted in understanding and unconditional love. I realized that my children's love was not contingent on my strength or my perfection. It was a love that encompassed all of me, the strong and the weak, the healthy and the ailing, the silent and the finally vocal. As I look back now, from a vantage point of my declining years, I see the irony of it all. I hid my illness to preserve their love, only to discover that true love flourishes not in the shadows of secrecy, but in the harsh light of truth. It was a painful lesson learned late in life, but a lesson I wouldn't trade for anything. My physical body may be failing, but my spirit, finally unburdened by secrets, is free. I am surrounded by the love of my children, a love that is deeper, richer, and more resilient than I ever could have imagined. And in their eyes, I no longer see pity or resentment, but profound understanding, a quiet acceptance, and a love that truly knows no bounds. This is my story, a testament to the power of secrets, the pain of regret, and the enduring, transformative power of forgiveness and genuine connection. What hidden truths are you holding on to that might be keeping you from the love and connection you deserve? Don't wait until it's too late. Share your story, reach out, and let your voice be heard. If this story resonated with you, if it made you reflect on your own life and relationships, please consider subscribing to Emotional Life Tales, Voices After 50, and activating the notification bell. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful, authentic narratives. The camera, which had been subtly focused on the older, weathered hands resting on a worn wooden table, slowly pulls back. The hands, now revealed to be mine, are intertwined with Amelia's and David's, a tableau of quiet strength and enduring affection. The room is softly lit, a warm, inviting space filled with the comfortable clutter of a life well lived. Pictures adorn the walls, faded photographs of younger selves, vibrant shots of grandchildren, and a recent, candid photo of the three of us laughing, our faces etched with the lines of shared history and newfound peace. My voice, though still carrying the slight tremor of age, is stronger now, imbued with conviction that only true understanding can bring. The raw pain of confession has given way to a quiet, profound acceptance. It's funny, isn't it? I say, my gaze sweeping over the beloved faces, how we build these elaborate fortresses of secrecy, brick by brick, believing we're protecting something precious. We think we're safeguarding our loved ones from pain, from disappointment, from the messy realities of life. But all we're really doing is isolating ourselves, creating a void where true connection should be. Amelia squeezes my hand gently. You tried to protect us, Dad. We understand that now. It came at a cost. Her voice is soft, devoid of judgment, filled instead with tenderness that still brings a lump to my throat. David, ever the artist, nods. And for a long time, that cost felt too high. The anger, the confusion, it was almost unbearable. But then, when you finally open up, it was like the air cleared. We could finally breathe again. I look at them, truly see them, and a wave of profound gratitude washes over me. And that's the paradox, isn't it? The very thing we fear to reveal, our vulnerabilities, our imperfections, our struggles, is often the very key to unlocking deeper, more authentic relationships. We think people will judge us, reject us, or see us as weak. But often, what they see is our humanity. And in that shared humanity, they find connection. The camera subtly shifts, now focusing on Amelia as she speaks, her eyes reflecting a newfound wisdom. I think it's also about control, isn't it? When we keep secrets, we feel like we're in control of the narrative, controlling how others perceive us. But it's an illusion. The truth eventually always finds a way out. And when it does, the impact can be much more devastating than if we had simply been honest in the start. David leans forward, his elbows on the table. Exactly. And it's not just about big, life-altering secrets like yours, Dad. It's the smaller ones too. The unspoken resentments, the unexpressed desires, the anxieties we bury deep down. They fester, they poison relationships, and they create a distance that grows wider with every unsaid word. I nod slowly, recalling countless instances throughout my life where I had chosen silence over candor, believing it was the path of least resistance. I remember a time, years ago, when I was struggling financially. The business was going through a rough patch, and I was terrified of admitting it. I worked myself to exhaustion, pretended everything was fine, and even turned down help from a friend because I was too proud to admit I was struggling. The stress almost broke me, and looking back, if I had just confided in someone, even just Sarah, we could have faced it together. The burden would have been shared, and the solution might have come much sooner, with far less pain. Amelia takes up the thread. And I did the same thing with my own marriage, in a way. Not a secret illness, but a slow, creeping detachment. I kept quiet about my unhappiness, about the growing distance between Mark and me. I thought I was protecting the children, preserving the illusion of a perfect family. But what I was really doing was denying myself, and denying Mark the opportunity to truly understand what was happening. We ended up in a place where the chasm was too wide to bridge. And the eventual separation, while necessary, was far more painful than it needed to be. If I had spoken up sooner, even just to acknowledge my own feelings, perhaps we could have found a different path, or at least navigated the end with more honesty and less bitterness. David sighs, a reflective expression on his face. I think men, especially, are conditioned to keep things to themselves, to be strong, to be providers, to not show weakness. I certainly fell into that trap. There were times in my career when I felt overwhelmed, when I doubted my abilities, when I felt immense pressure. I'd come home, put on a brave face, and pretend everything was under control. I wouldn't confide in my wife, even though she's my rock. I thought it was my burden to bear alone, but it created a subtle tension, a distance. She could sense something was off, but because I wouldn't articulate it, she couldn't help. It wasn't until I finally hit a wall and had no choice but to be honest with her that our relationship truly deepened. She didn't see me as weak. She saw me as human. And that honesty, that vulnerability, brought us closer than ever before. I look at my children, a profound sense of pride swelling in my chest. They had learned the lessons I had learned so late, and they were applying them in their own lives. That's the beauty of it, isn't it? When we reveal our authentic selves, flaws and all, we invite others to do the same. We create a space of trust and acceptance where genuine connection can flourish. It's not about being perfect. It's about being real. And in that realness, we find strength, not weakness. I sit quietly at the table, feeling the warmth of Amelia's hand in my left and David's in my right. Their fingers wrap around mine not with fragility, not with fear, but with a quiet steadiness that humbles me more than any hardship ever has. For so many years, I believed strength meant standing alone, carrying burdens in silence, shielding the people I love from the parts of me that felt broken. Now I see how wrong I was. This shared silence, this unspoken understanding flowing between us, is what strength truly looks like. The room around us feels softer somehow, as if even the air has learned to breathe more gently. Photographs line the walls. Birthdays, holidays, ordinary afternoons that once felt insignificant and now seem priceless. In those frozen moments, I see the years I spent trying to be invincible and the years I almost lost by refusing to be seen as human. Parkinson's has taken much from me. My hands tremble. My voice sometimes falters. My body no longer obeys me the way it once did. But in losing control, I have gained something I never allowed myself before: closeness without pretense, love without performance, presence without pride. I used to think my role as a father was to be the pillar, solid, unmoving, unbreakable. But pillars stand alone. They hold weight, yes, but they do not embrace, they do not lean, they do not allow themselves to be held up in return. I see now that I didn't need to be a pillar. I only needed to be a person, a flawed, frightened, loving person who trusted his children enough to let them walk beside him, even on the hardest roads. There is regret, of course. Regret for the dinners avoided, the calls cut short, the questions I brushed aside with practiced smile. Regret for the worry they carried without understanding why. But regret no longer feels like a weight crushing my chest. It feels like a teacher, stern, unforgettable, but ultimately guided me towards something better. Because what followed, the truth, the anger, the tears, the painful conversations, also brought something else. It brought honesty into our home like fresh air through a long closed window. It brought laughter back, softer now but deeper. It brought moments like this one, where no one is pretending, no one is protecting anyone from reality, and yet we all feel safer than ever. My voice is not as steady as it once was. Parkinson's made sure of that, but my heart is steadier than it has ever been. I no longer wake each morning calculating what to hide. I wake knowing that whatever this day brings, weakness or strength, frustration or peace, I will not face alone, and I will not face it behind a mask. If my life has taught me anything, it is this: secrets do not preserve love. They quietly starve it. Love survives in truth, grows in vulnerability, and deepens when we allow ourselves to be fully seen. Not as we wish we were, but as we truly are. And here, with my children beside me, I finally understand that being seen, completely, imperfectly, honestly, is the greatest strength I ever found. If this story touched your heart, take a moment to like this video. It helps more people discover stories like this one. Subscribe to Voices After 50 for more true, emotional journeys about love, time, forgiveness, and second chances. And before you go, watch the next story on our channel. Another unforgettable reminder that the people we love never truly leave us.